So we're here to talk today about social business and beyond. So social business, when it was first invented, so I started a company, I left Forrester Research in 2008, started a company called Dotchess Group, and we came up with this idea called social business design. We said, man, we're going to change the world. We're going to revolutionize how business works. Because when you think about businesses and constituents and tools and functions and process, we think about the ecosystem. To whom are you connected and how? We think about hive-mindedness, cultural relevance, cultural calibration. We think about dynamic signals. So what sort of content is being created? How are our ties between one another, weak or strong? We've got meta filtering. As Clay Shirky says, the problem isn't content overload, it's filter failure. Right? So how do we take big data, analyze it, make sense of it? So there's this idea of meta filter, 4 archetypes of social business that are going to revolutionize how business works. So let's dive down deep into, first, technology and where we get to. 3 key items here. First of all, we've got increasingly powerful devices. If you know Moore's law, you know Metcalfe's law, seems to make sense. I'm not dancing, I'm just trying to get out of the way of the cord. Number 2, better access to bandwidth. And number 3, consumerization of IT. So 3 fundamental technology trends that have set the stage for not only social media, but also social business. Your smartphone has more computing power than the whole world did in 1950. So whether you prefer 1 thumb, whether you prefer 2 thumbs, whether you prefer your Galaxy S3 and you're cooler than the other 2 types of users combined, that smartphone has more power than the entire world. That's what these things, these iPhones, have gotten to. So setting the stage for a revolution. Secondly, we talked about increasing access to bandwidth. So remember that in 1962, 3% of Americans own a color TV? Well, guess what? That's what our world was like back in 2000 in terms of user access to high-speed internet. Because on the top you have broadband, on the bottom you have dial-up. These are numbers from Pew Internet and American Life Project. So back in 2000, only 3% of American households had access to high-speed internet. The rest of us, if you can remember back that far, we're sitting there with our 28.8, 56K modems trying to dial up. And so if you think about, for a second, where your career might have been back in that day and age, back in 2000, I was at a place called Razorfish, and I soon joined a place called Puma, and I was handed a website that was entirely in Flash, which of course was almost wholly unusable by any of our users. Why? Because they could only use it at work, for those people who cared to look at Pumas when they're at work. And number 2, otherwise it was tough to download anything that was on that site. I think there was a tapping shoe made in Flash. That was the death of our website. But you see how this progresses over time. Increasingly, we have bandwidth being more available, and then you start to see consumer-friendly business models roll out. So again, for those of you who were very familiar, steeped in the dot-com bubble, you may remember Quokka Sports. Remember Quokka? They were going to live stream events like the America's Cup or F1 or Tour de France. But what was the problem? Again, no one has the bandwidth to watch this stuff. So increasingly over that same time period, our devices got cheaper, faster, better, but corporate IT departments couldn't keep up. Right? So we used iPhones at home, we got on Facebook, and we said, hey, how come you're issuing me a flip phone as my company phone? Like, this is no bueno, right? Like, give me a BlackBerry at least. Or how come I'm on Facebook connecting to old friends and even coworkers using this professionally, but you're making me use Microsoft SharePoint when I'm here, which looks like a file folder server. So on the other side, cultural trends. So 3 keys here, which we'll go deep into. Now, these actually haven't changed much at all over time. First, audiences and consumers want you to make them laugh. Second, make me cry. And those 2, I'd have to say, are mutually exclusive. It's tough to do both. 3, make me famous. Right? Make me laugh, make me cry, make me famous. You can see how this is played out in very well-known campaigns. So